Here's a question I want you to sit with for a second. When was the last time you were truly, genuinely bored? Not just waiting for a reply on your phone, not in between notifications, actually bored. No screen, no music, podcast, no input whatsoever. Just you and the silence. If you are struggling to remember, that is the problem. And here is what nobody is telling you. That inability to sit with boredom, it might be the single most expensive habit you have, costing you your creativity, your clarity, your best ideas, your mental health, your sense of purpose, and your ability to actually live your life rather than just scroll through it. Now, I'm going to say something counterintuitive, something that goes against what the modern world is pushing you to do every second. We're going to talk about why you should stop running from boredom and start running towards it. All right, let's start with part 1. The war on boredom and why we are losing. Let's be honest about something first. We are living in the most distracted era in human history. Every app on your phone was designed by a team of engineers, some of the most brilliant minds on the planet, with one single objective: to make sure you never have to feel bored. Not for a second. Not on the bus, while you're waiting for food, in your bed, not even in the bathroom. The dopamine hit from a notification. Unlike a new video, it is a real chemical response in your brain. And every time you reach for your phone, the moment you feel a hint of boredom, you are training your brain to need that hit. You are shrinking your tolerance for stillness bit by bit, day by day. And here is the truly wild part. We are all profoundly bored. Right now, today. I mean, you're watching this video, for God's sake. It is a nagging restlessness that bubbles just below the surface. A feeling that you constantly need to do something, consume something, respond to something.
That feeling isn't productivity. It's addiction.
I'd best describe our situation like frog in water that is slowly being brought to a boil. The temperature has been rising for, upwards, 2 decades. The distractions have multiplied so gradually that most of us have not even noticed how much of our tolerance for quiet has been stripped away. We are all sitting in that pot, and most of us do not even realize we are boiling. Part 2. What actually happens in your brain when you are bored. Here's where it gets fascinating. Most people assume when you are bored your brain shuts down, that it is empty, useless, wasted state. But that's completely wrong. When you stop giving your brain a consistent stream of input, something remarkable happens. A system deep inside your brain switches on. Scientists call it the default mode network, and it is one of the most powerful things your brain can do. This is the network that activates when you are not focused on anything specific, when your mind is allowed to wander, when you're in the shower and not listening to a podcast, when you are walking without headphones, when you're doing the dishes without a screen in front of you. And what does default mode network do? It connects things. It takes everything that you have ever experienced, learnt, seen, and felt, and it starts drawing invisible lines between ideas that have never been connected before. It's processing your emotions. It consolidates your memories. It asks the deep questions: what matters to me? What do I actually want? And what am I doing with my life? This is where your best ideas live. This is where your creativity is stored, and every time you reach for your phone in a quiet moment, you are switching that network off before it can do its work. Consider this. In 1990, a woman sat on a delayed train from Manchester in London. 4 hours. No smartphone, no social media, no streaming, nothing to do but stare out of a window. And in those 4 hours of pure, uninterrupted boredom, she dreamed up an entire world. A school. A boy wizard. A mythology that would become one of the most beloved stories in human history. Now I'm guessing you know who this is, and that's right. Rowling's boredom gave us Harry Potter. Now ask yourself, what has your boredom given you lately? Or more importantly, have you even let yourself be bored long enough to find out? Part 3. The busy person is a bored person. Now here's a backwards idea that might confuse you. The busiest people, the ones with the fullest schedules, the most notifications, and the constant activity are often the most bored people on the planet. How? Well, think about this. When we fill every moment with activity, work, and entertainment, we're not escaping the boredom, we are feeding it. Because boredom is not about having nothing to do. Boredom is a signal. It is your mind trying to reach you. It's the part of you that wants meaning, purpose, and genuine connection, knocking on the door of your consciousness. And when you stuff every available second with content and noise, you are slamming that door shut. The result? A life that feels increasingly hollow, where you are always busy but never fulfilled. Always entertained but never inspired. Always stimulated but never at peace. Here's the thing about boredom that most people misunderstand. When you fill it with the wrong things, say, scrolling and busy work, you do not make the boredom go away. You just postpone it, and it comes back stronger, more restless, and more annoying. But when you sit with boredom, when you let it breathe, when you don't immediately reach for something to make it stop, something shifts. That restlessness starts to transform. It turns into curiosity, into reflection, into creative energy, looking for an outlet. Boredom, approached with the correct mindset, is not an absence of something. It is the presence of pure, unformed potential waiting to be shaped by your imagination. Let me give you some hard evidence, because this is not just philosophy. Researchers at the University of Central Lancashire ran a study where they had participants performing one of the most mind-numbing tasks imaginable, copying names and numbers out of a phone book. Then, they tested those participants on a creative thinking task. The results? The group that had more been bored beforehand came up with significantly more creative ideas. More of them, and better ones. The boredom acted like a warm-up for their imagination, primer, a stretching of the mental muscles before the real work began. Another experiment had participants watching a screen with a slow, dull screensaver for several minutes. Same result. More creative output, more imaginative solutions. A Texas A&M psychologist described it perfectly. She said boredom makes the brain enter a seeking state. It becomes hungry. It starts looking for novelty, for purpose, for something interesting to latch on and to do. And that hunger is exactly what drives original thought. Think about the greatest inventors, artists, just thinkers in history. They did not come up with their best ideas at a desk, answering emails or watching content. They came up with them in the shower, or on a long walk, just staring at the ceiling or even doing laundry. Isaac Newton and the apple, Archimedes in the bath, Einstein on a bicycle, George Balanchine, one of the most celebrated choreographers in history, admitted that his best ideas came to him while he was doing laundry. Creativity does not arrive on command. It does not respond to pressure. It arrives in the empty spaces, and we keep filling those spaces up. Part 4. Boredom and the Search for Meaning. Now let's go a layer deeper, because this is where it gets really personal. Boredom is not just about creativity. It is not about having better ideas at work. At its deepest level, boredom is about meaning. When we are constantly distracted, when we never sit down with ourselves, never let the noise stop, or allow a moment of genuine stillness, we lose touch with what's most important person a question can ask. And that's what actually matters to me. Not what is trending. Not what everyone else seems to be doing or buying or becoming, but what adds to me. What do I genuinely care about? What kind of life do I actually want to build? These are questions that cannot be answered in the noise. They can only be answered in the quiet. And most of us are so afraid of the quiet that we never ask them. There is a real cost to that avoidance. It shows up as a persistent sense of emptiness despite a full schedule. It shows up as anxiety that has no clear cause. It shows up as the feeling that you are living someone else's life, moving through the motions, just checking boxes, never quite feeling like you are truly present in your own story. Boredom, understood correctly, is not a problem to escape. It is a doorway to doorway to self-knowledge, clarity, to a life that feels genuinely yours rather than assembled from other people's inputs and expectations. The person who can sit with themselves in silence, who does not need constant stimulation to feel okay, has access to a kind of inner stability that no amount of entertainment can provide. Part 5. How to actually strive for boredom. So what does this look like in practice? Because this is not about sitting in the dark room doing nothing forever. It is about reclaiming pockets of quiet in a well designed to eliminate them. Start with the small moments, the moments you have been reflexively filling. The morning before you pick up your phone, let it sit just for 5 minutes. Let your mind wake up on its own terms. Let it wander without being directed somewhere. The commute. Leave the headphones out. Walk without a destination in your ears. Let your thoughts surface. Try doing one generally mundane task each day without any additional input. Either washing dishes or folding laundry, walking to the corner store. No podcasts, no music or audiobook, just you and the task and whatever thoughts emerge. You'll be surprised. In the first few days it'll feel uncomfortable, maybe even unbearable. But that discomfort is the withdrawal. That is your brain revealing it has been constantly stimulated, and now it has to work on its own again. But push through it. Because on the other side of that discomfort is something extraordinary. Ideas you did not know you had. Clarity about things that have been confusing you. A quiet sense of direction. A feeling of actually being present in your own life. One more thing. Stop seeing empty time as wasted time. In a world obsessed with productivity, the ability to do nothing is almost a radical act. It is your mind's way of not just surviving, but preparing for something brilliant.
All right.
Let us bring this home. In a world where every company, every platform, and algorithm is fighting for your attention every second of the day, choosing to be bored is an act of resistance. It is choosing your own mind over someone else's agenda. Boredom is where creativity is born. It is where meaning is found, and is where your best ideas have been waiting, patiently inquiring for you to stop scrolling long enough to hear them. The most creative people in the world are not the most stimulated. They are the most willing to be still. And the most focused people in the world are not the ones that consume the most. They are the ones who protect their emptiness. So here is the challenge. Not tomorrow, today. Find one moment of stillness. Leave the phone alone. Let the silence breathe. Let your mind wander without a destination. It'll feel strange. Let it. Because in that strangeness, in that quiet, uncontrolled, uncomfortable space, that is where your next great idea is waiting. Strive for boredom.